I have a task for you, and it should be fairly simple. The task is to explain to me what a hallucination might feel like, what it might look like. Give me an example. About 1 in 20 people have ever hallucinated before, meaning most of you would probably have to do this without any experience, and yet, I can bet that almost everyone who tries this can give me a semi-accurate idea. Humans are very interesting, and one of my favorite things about us is our ability to develop predictive models according to our universe in our heads. This is fascinating and attributed greatly to our rise to the top of the food chain, and not only that, but I can imagine an idea, a new invention, a video game, my own unique car design, and using my words alone can pass that idea on to someone else, putting my idea into their minds, and this is what annoys me so much about nostalgia. See, if I were to give you a description of something, let's say a new species of cat, I could say the cat's a little bit bigger than your average house cat, has no whiskers, very long pointed ears like that of a coyote, and is colored similarly to that of a Dalmatian. You should easily be able to imagine that. This is because this creature, even though fake, has a description in which you can relate to, or at the very least could relate to similar creatures in our physical world, but with nostalgia, it's not quite as easy. Nostalgia is very personal, delves very much into self, making it hard to get others to relate, and even seems to annoy people sometimes. Take for example a TV show, or a video game that you loved as a child. To talk to someone now about that goes into depth about you as a person. I like this show because it made me feel blank, or something happened in this game that made me think about myself differently. The intentions are pure. You had an amazing time with a game or show and you wish that same thing for the person in which you're speaking to, but because it delves so much into the self, it often ends up making them feel like you're just talking about you. Imagine if you had a friend who was very big into styling their hair. Every morning they woke up, showered, ate breakfast, and then did their hair for 15 minutes. They then go to you and talk about all the experiences they had because of that, talking about how many compliments they get on it and how you should do it too. They have something that makes them very happy, and though it takes time, it's very worth it to them, but when they try to share it with you, it comes off as though they know a better way of doing things. It may even seem pretentious despite how innocent their intentions may be. But this doesn't mean nostalgia is impossible to discuss, though it may actually be impossible to pass on. I could tell stories all day about my time in Rust, where we hopped onto a server, made a base, claimed we were the kings of the entire server, and went to war with everyone else. We even had our own slaves who dedicated themselves to our kingdom. This sounds amazing and can make anybody want to play the game. Unfortunately, I removed myself from the story as much as I could, for telling you the entire tale would most likely bore you. It's so easy to fall into this too. The entire time you think you're talking about a video game or a TV show, but in reality, you're imposing your stories and ideas onto someone who may have never asked for them in the first place, and we all do it. See, the craziest problem with this is since I tell stories on this channel, it makes topics like this very difficult. Sure, I could tell my favorite moment in Red Dead Redemption, and most everyone watching this would probably enjoy it. I mean, that's what you're partially here for, and please excuse me for breaking the fourth wall for a second, but that's exactly why a topic like this is so annoying, and why writing this script was such a pain in the... But another dynamic that makes this topic even more difficult is the lack of an antonym. Words have partners, opposites, things like day and night, truth and lie, but nostalgia doesn't. See, the definition of nostalgia is a sentimental longing or wistful affection for the past, typically for a period or place with happy personal associations. However, there's no word for the opposite, as that would mean the definition would have to be an uncaringness or unhappiness for some event in the future, which probably doesn't happen that often besides dentist appointments. The funny thing about the word nostalgia is it doesn't have to be a pleasant feeling, it can be its own opposite. In fact, I have a few examples of nostalgia making me feel like I was kicked in the balls. A long while ago I liked this girl. I spoke with her every day for 2.5 years, and we were really close. We told each other we loved each other, and I guess you could say it was the longest relationship that I ever had. I got her into PC gaming, I got her a nice little laptop, and we played Left 4 Dead 2 and Just Cause 2 multiplayer. But then she started playing these games with a friend of hers, another guy, and because I was at work all the time and they had all day to hang out, they got close, and long story short, she fell out of love with me and they got together. That really sucked, and for longer than I'd like to admit, I couldn't play Left 4 Dead 2 or Just Cause anymore. Even when Just Cause 3 came out and YouTubers were playing it in their videos, I couldn't watch those videos. There were certain songs I couldn't listen to, movies I didn't want to watch because they reminded me of her, and this sucks. This too delves into self, making it exceptionally difficult to talk about things without sounding self-absorbed. Of course those feelings go away. You make new memories with the same games and everything's good again. Just know that if someone comes to you talking about that game they played when they were young and oh god you need to play it too, that they're just excited to have you around. They want those feelings to be shared with you, and for those of you out there who often notice people getting annoyed when you talk about your favorite games, maybe try not to lay it on so heavy. Multiple stories from your gameplay can ruin the game for them, but I do have a bit of a tip for that. Tell them your favorite tale. Keep it short, just enough to entice them. If they never play it, they got your favorite story out of it, and eventually they may want to give it a go, and if so, that's great. Perhaps those will be the memories you look back on fondly. Which is, funnily enough, another reason this topic was so difficult. I remember back to when I was nostalgic. Man, I miss those days.